Hey YouTube, what's up? So it's I just checked it before I started videos. I'm kind of cheating, but it's August 4th, 3 p.m. and I forced myself out of bed today. Yesterday, not so much. I did get Monday's videos uploaded yesterday, so that's something. And I got my one eBay order shipped. It was just an LP. What are you doing, dude? Tax dollars at work. I'm sitting on 2 orders, but it's looking like one of them the guy's just gonna make a point not to pay. Kind of weird how that one went. So for those unfamiliar, there's a offer system in, like kind of a barter system built into eBay. I'm not sure how long it's been there, but it's been there for a while. Where you can, in the fixed price marketplace, or I think even in the auctions, definitely in the fixed price marketplace, which I've been doing for quite some time. You can put in an option for the buyer to do a best offer, and you can set a minimum of what the minimum is you're willing to take on a best offer, and it'll automatically just reject anything that comes in lower than that, so you're not bothered by it. But anyway, when somebody makes an offer, actually that's not what's going on here. Actually, when somebody makes an offer, I think I have the option of either accepting it or maybe throwing a counter offer. But that's actually the opposite of what happened with the eBayer I'm having current issue with. There's another kind of offer related thing where if somebody saves, like say they go to one of your listings and they save it, so like their wish list, or I forget what it's called. It's changed names a couple of times, and different sites call it different things. But anyway, if they save your item into their, they save it. Oh man, I meant to turn right there. Dang it. Actually, no, I didn't. I did actually look at my Google traffic, and if I'd have head out a little bit earlier, getting on the 143 would have been my best route to where I'm headed. But every afternoon there's kind of a snafu that happens at where the 143 meets the 60, and I don't know, I checked Google traffic about a half hour ago, and that was already starting to take place. Plus, their ADOT recently started on a road widening project where they're trying to widen I-10, I believe, between 40th Street and Baseline, the whole Broadway curve area, and then somewhat redo those intersections. And I should really get online and see like what their final plans are on that. I know they've been working on, toying with some different plans for quite some time. And they finally reached a final plan, and I don't know what it is, but it would be good to know. I'd like to know. Anyway, that area is supposed to be under construction for a couple of years, so even though it's a little bit shorter to go where I'm going right now via the 143, the 10, and the 60. I think I said where the 143 hits the 60. I meant where the 143 hits the 10. Intersections are like a mile apart. It all kind of feels like one big intersection when you're driving through it. But anyway, and I got a feeling that's kind of what it's going to be like when ADOT gets this whole thing done. Hopefully there'll be lanes where if you're going from the 143 to the 60, you don't get stuck. And I-10 traffic. That's what I'm hoping for. Although I tell you, I've had redesigns of that intersection in my mind for years and years. Excuse me. Especially being that I, for quite some time lived, like a decade, I lived at Mill and Broadway. So I was constantly going through that intersection, especially since, not only because I lived there, but for the longest time I used to pick up Lily every day from her mother, who lived over where my storage is. So it was my daily routine to get up, head down Broadway to the 143, and it used to always frustrate me to no end that I would have to sit through the intersections to get across I-10, kind of backtrack out to 48. So the way, there's sort of an S-curve when you're driving on Broadway, and you kind of cut to the north a wee bit when you cross I-10, and then you cut back south to get to 48th Street. But I have to do all that to get to 48th Street, sit and wait in that traffic to turn right on 48th Street, which at that point is an entrance to the 143, without a right turn lane to get around traffic that's going straight, and then across another signaled intersection where the exit is when you're coming off of I-10 eastbound to get on the 143, and also on Broadway, or and 48th Street. That's all one exit. And there's just, for whatever reason, there's a traffic light there, and so yeah, it used to annoy me to no end to have to sit through all of that crap, which sometimes could be tedious and time consuming and consist of 4 red lights that are not timed, before I'm on the 143 doing freeway speed. In fact, after a while, I never timed it to see which is faster, which I probably should. And sometimes it's not about what's faster. Sometimes it's about what is just more comfortable for me as a driver. And hitting all those red lights is just not comfortable. Setting at stop traffic is not comfortable. So I started regularly going south on Mill instead, so I could turn right on red onto the 60, and then do the 60 through the 10 onto the 143, which is kind of a free flow, and a lot less annoying. Just instead of being annoyed at traffic on the way to pick up my daughter, I just was driving my CRX at faster than I should be around nice bank corners, and just feeling pretty good about life as I was going to get my baby, and usually a good day with Lily to be had. I miss those days a lot. Anyway, I used to always think it'd be really good if at the point where the exit is to get, because there's an exit when you're coming across on Broadway going westbound through that mega intersection. You've got a traffic light and an intersection, and it's the point where you swoop north to the most on Broadway at 52nd Street, which also doubles as the exit from westbound I-10. Got a traffic light there, and you've got lanes that go straight that, as soon as you leave that intersection, double as exit lanes to get on the 10 west and go on into downtown Phoenix. That's a 2-lane exit, so it's if you're going that direction, it's as long as there's not heavy traffic on the 10, it's nice. You just you're probably going to get that light from 52nd Street green, and just kind of Broadway traffic veers off to the left, you veer off to the right, and you're on free flow freeway. And you end up kind of doing a curve through open ADOT space there, go underneath the 143, and then you merge into the 10. And by the time that ramp is done well enough that by the time you hit the 10, you're doing whatever speed the 10 is doing, which is usually a pretty high speed unless you're trying to do it in the afternoon. take that exit, I always kind of look over and wonder why they didn't also make that exit ramp from Broadway into an exit for the 143 North. Because as you're driving through that dirt, there's also a free flow exit. As I said, the drive-through from the 10 to the 143 North, 10 west to 143 North. And there's a small overpass on that goes over. I'm trying to remember if it's over or under. I'm pretty sure it's over. Goes over that ramp that I just described that goes from Broadway to the 10. And there's a lot of open space there, and it seems to me they could have really easily added a ramp connecting those two ramps. So, for freeways, you exit, after 52nd Street, you take the 2 lanes that exit to the right. And then, in my mind, I could see a way to do it to the right, and I can also see another way to do it to the left, but I think to the right just makes more logical sense, where you just, in your head, you think that's the way you're going, because I was having to watch the signs going, oh, this is another one of those go left to get right kind of exits. Although the American freeways are full of those. Anyway, you have just, and that's not a lot of traffic that goes that direction. I understand that. But there is traffic that goes that direction. And while, sitting through this series of lights trying to go that direction, before I started going out of my way and taking the 60, which literally is almost 3 miles out of my way. I would notice I was not the only vehicle doing that. Like, I'd see somebody following me doing it, or I'd be following somebody else doing it. And they seemed as annoyed by the series of red lights as I was. So, yeah, it seems like it wouldn't take a lot of effort. The land is already there. Like, it's my understanding one of the biggest costs of building and rebuilding freeways is land acquisition. Trying to get the people that own the land to sell it, or going through, God forbid, going through eminent domain procedures to get it. And don't even, I'm not even going to get started on eminent domain, because I'm not a fan, but sometimes that's the only way to get things built, and it's frustrating. And I think with enough pre-planning, like, it wouldn't have to be that way. But anyway, the land's already purchased. I don't think it would require any eminent domain to happen whatsoever. And even if a little bit more land was needed, I do believe that there's also an easement that belongs to Tempe, and it sure seems like it'd be easy to, for Tempe to give up a little bit of easement that they don't necessarily need over to ADOT to get something built that would be helpful for Tempe and ADOT and every Arizona driver that goes through that area. Anyway, yeah, a simple ramp would be really nice, where you could just kind of merge in with the traffic, into the ramp with the traffic that's going from the 10 to the 143, and just continue north of the 143. Now, granted, there is a little bit of a squeeze right there on the 143 where it goes over, University, and yeah, that could use a little bit of widening, and yeah, that would make that squeeze even worse if you added that extra traffic to it. But it seems like it'd be a worthwhile project. Anyhow, I'm really curious if that's part of this big overhaul that area is getting, or if they just ignored that. and I remember when there were scheduled talks, for just the public to go in and give their input on it. And man, what I just explained about those exits from Broadway, I really wanted to go there and kind of present that, but never found the time. Oh man, yeah. As I'm sitting here on the eve of my 51st birthday, I realized I probably missed my calling to be a city planner, urban planner, traffic planner, traffic engineer. I know I have the mind for it, but yeah, I just don't see any way I could be in the cards for me. I mean, even if I was to start getting really serious about it now and going to school now. I mean, when would I graduate? When I turn 55? And what kind of entry-level position does anybody, any firm or government want to give to a 55-year-old felon that just graduated college? I don't think they're going to be impressed that I'm a Benson. I don't see it happening. Anyway, yeah. So many ways the ship of my life has sailed. But I'm trying to keep the suicidal thoughts out of my head, because God knows they're there a lot lately. And somebody who's super, super close also shared that she's got that a lot as well. And I don't know, part of me wants to help her and comfort her with it. And then part of me just, it's like, hey, we can go together when we go. Which is not a good plan. I know that's not a good plan, but God, I've been thinking about a lot. And it doesn't help that I've been surrounded with so much suicide as of late. I mean, there's plenty of musicians that I really look up to, and say Chris Cornell, and then Chester Bennington, who I actually used to know and talk to on a semi-regular basis. And that's a story for another time, but don't take that as crazy name dropping. When in the mental hospital, I've said things like that and been accused by the doctors having delusions of grandeur. But I did have some time in radio and some time in the local music scene, and I've met a lot of pretty significant people on a rather personal level having done that. So Chester Bennington was one of them, and now he's gone. And I do often wonder, if somebody like Chester Bennington or Chris Cornell, with all the talent and all the success and all the money and, beautiful big home and no financial worries or stresses, and, beautiful supermodel tier wife, if neither of them can find enough happiness that they want to continue living, what battle am I fighting? What are my chances? I don't know. Sometimes I regret having such a high IQ and wish this is gonna get reposted on the I Am Very Smart subreddit. But anyway, I'm sure I've been reposted there before, but whatever. I've been a member of Mensa since I believe I was 14, and maybe 13, and I qualify for that. So put that together however you may. Yeah, sometimes I envy those that have and aren't as have the level of intelligence I have, that just don't see the things that I see. I feel like they're a lot happier people, in their own bubble, and I think the more I've been reading about Asperger's and high functioning autism, I do realize I have a lot of the symptoms of that, a lot of the tendencies of that. I don't feel like that was anything that was really talked about when I got the mental health diagnoses that I got of bipolar disorder and schizoaffective disorder, and then also previously schizophrenia, which is kind of the same thing. But I can see where that could have happened. Of course, you gotta wonder. You kind of wonder, when a psychiatrist is doing these kind of diagnoses, where they're coming from. I mean, I'm sure they get people that have seen stuff on YouTube as I have, or read stuff on the internet, and then go in and they're thinking, well, yeah, I have this, and I want a diagnosis, and, you know, so I can get disability or get accommodations or whatever. And again, the person told me that she's struggling with suicidal thoughts. She told me that she's also, you know, that she thinks she's got that, and that she lost her job. She thinks that had a lot to do with it, and believes that it would, you know, that's what she needs, to talk to a doctor and get that diagnosis, so that she can maybe get some assistance through it, or at the very least have a doctor's note that gets her reasonable accommodations for it. Although it's been my experience in the real world, that kind of reasonable accommodation doesn't happen. If you disclose that you have those sort of mental health problems, you just simply don't get the job, because it's easier not to deal with that and accommodate that for employers. Now, granted, that's probably an illegal form of discrimination, but proof that's why they didn't hire you. You can't. That's why a lot of discrimination goes on in the employment world. I mean, I've straight up had employers say that they would, you know, not hire somebody because they were black, or not hire somebody because they were male, or not hire somebody for a certain position because they weren't female. I've heard that said. I mean, and I would never report those people. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to report people. But I've heard it said, you know. And of course, that's not going to be the reason they tell, you know, a black or a male or a female applicant that they're not going to hire them. But I know for a fact that's the reason that person didn't get hired. But anyway, I don't know. It's such a tough one, you know. So anyway, yeah, I always wonder with doctors, you know, do they, when somebody comes in and they're kind of looking for that diagnosis, you know, if that puts the doctor in a position where they're like, yeah, I'm not trying to give it to you. You know, much as the way people who are shopping around, I know it's a thing, you know, people will shop around who are addicted to painkillers. They're addicted to painkillers. They're shopping around trying to get a prescription for them, and they'll say the things, trying to say, oh, well, you know, I have this, I have that, I have this pain, I just really need this, you know, need these painkillers. And I know a lot of doctors kind of go out of their way to not prescribe that when somebody comes in clearly looking for it. And, you know, not every doctor does, and certainly there's a national epidemic, probably worldwide epidemic of, you know, people that abuse and are addicted to those kind of pills. They could probably live without them, but, you know, they say what they have to say in their doctor's appointment to get it. And I just wonder, you know, with psychiatrists, you've got somebody, you know, coming in and feels, you know, kind of self-diagnosed based on things they've read on the internet or seen on the internet as Asperger's or high-functioning autism. You know, if that the doctor's going to key in, that's what they're trying to get, and they go out of their way to say, well, no, you're fine. This is why. And if an adult goes in, you know, even a young adult, like, they should have enough experience masking that just out of habit, it's likely they're going to present in such a way where the doctor can say, well, no, you don't have that problem, when in fact they do. And at least that's one thing I feel there's some more credibility, because I have some people like, well, you function just fine. Well, I don't see why you would get any disability, or why you would get, you know, I don't see that you're severely mentally ill. And a lot of times I do. I do represent well, and I'm sure a lot of those coping skills, you know, have a lot to do with the fact that I am in the top 2%, you know, IQ-wise of the population. Wow, I'm almost to my exit. It came up quick. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with that. But at least when I went through getting my diagnoses, I was in inpatient care. I had a really bad breakdown, and the entire time I was absolutely insisting to the doctors that I was fine and didn't belong there whatsoever. So they were seeing right through me. They're trying to contest my argument of perfectly normal, perfectly fine with no, you're not. This is your problem. This is why you need to be here locked up. So, it's kind of weird. It's like there's almost this adversarial, situation created. So yeah, am I going to get another diagnosis now? No, I've already got a diagnosis, and you seem fine. Get a job. Anyway, that's what I'm out trying to do today. My last couple videos were coming from the trough, I think it's how it's pronounced, in East Mesa. People say it's in Apache Junction, but I think it's technically in East Mesa. It is outside the Loop 202, so that's pretty Apache Junction-esque. The east of the 202, I should say. And I really should have went there yesterday. Yeah, I didn't even manage to get out of bed before the time I heard he leaves. I heard the owner takes off around 4. He's there in the daytime. I'm not sure how early his morning is. I don't think that's the kind of bar that opens at 6 a.m. And I might not have made it early enough today. It's almost 3:30 now. Wow, you've been watching this for almost 30 minutes. Imagine that. I have got a time to drive here. So it's a little farther away from home than I want to be getting a karaoke gig, but I absolutely need to get a gig. My electric bill is due in 2 days, and I don't have the funds to pay it. I mean, I could pay it on a credit card, but that's not really such a tenable situation when I'm getting to the point where I'm going to start struggling to make my minimum credit card payments, and that'll send that house card tumbling down in a big way. So, yeah, I need a new karaoke gig yesterday. So on that note, if you're watching this, wow, look at that shakiness. If you're watching this and you know somebody that's looking for a DJ or looking for a karaoke DJ, and yes, I do straight DJ as well. Pretty much any genre of music. I mean, I can improvise or learn, but I mean, I certainly do best at retro stuff and alternative stuff and funk, old school hip hop. I mean, those are kind of my fortes. But I mean, I can spin any kind of music. I mean, I just successfully did a wedding for a bunch of people that were, I would say, the median age group of that crowd was 60, and it worked out pretty well. So, I'm pretty adaptable. And I've done pretty well at clubs with a dominantly black crowd as well. That's a large part of the music I listen to. I mean, Prince on right now. Like, that's a great example of a black artist. But anyway, oh yeah. So I'm almost here to talk to the owner of the truck. I heard he leaves around 4. Hopefully he's still there, and I didn't drive all the way out here for nothing, because that was a hell of a drive. But I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I'm feeling like I'm in the right mental space to talk to somebody, which I definitely wasn't yesterday. So I do kind of wonder how much of that has to do with the fact that my sex life is absolute nil these days. Not sure if significant other just can't or won't. It's kind of a mixture of both, but it's not a good time for me. And I know that we don't exactly have an open relationship, but it's kind of been that way on my end at times. But it's not like I have a side chick at the moment. So, really have the ambition to chase one, nor do I have the time or the money to chase one. So that's where I'm at with that. Anyway, made it to the place. So I think it would be better to park in the back. I'm curious what this building was built to. That entryway, different. Anyway, this place is huge. They did have karaoke before. I talked about that last vlog. Anyway, here goes nothing. Pull my hair back. Yeah, I think I should pull my hair back. Anyway, hey, thanks for listening. And I'll probably do another vlog after I leave here with some details on how it worked out.